Funding for Austin Business Matters was provided by Division X Incorporated, where e-commerce meets e-marketing. Today's show features Nathan Jones, inventor of the Freeloader, and Alexis Jones, founder of I Am That Girl, hosted by Melissa Davis.
Welcome to Austin Business Matters, a TV talk show about entrepreneurs bringing ideas to life in the city of Austin. I'm your host, Melissa Davis. On the program today, we have two Austin entrepreneurs, Nathan Jones and his sister, Alexis Jones. Nathan is an Austin fireman and the inventor of the Freeloader, which he debuted on the ABC reality show The Shark Tank. His sister, Alexis Jones, is an author, media personality, former contestant on the CBS reality show Survivor, and she is also the founder of the nonprofit I Am That Girl. I'm delighted to welcome Nathan and Alexis to Austin Business Matters. I understand this is the first time you have both appeared on a show together. You've been on shows separately.
For the most part. She flew me out to be on Survivor for a day.
A day,
when she was
okay.
on her big adventure out there, but this is the first time we've done it where
we're fed and hydrated,
yes,
and there aren't rats running around.
Well, we're so glad that could be on our show, and you could be together. I feel like we have a lot of ground to cover, from your book to the Shark Tank to your product to everything that you're doing. But I guess I'd like to start with knowing a little bit about your backgrounds. You both grew up in Austin, is that right? And graduated high school from Austin, and then you both ended up going to California after that. Tell me about that.
I followed him like the little sister admiring her big brother. I was like, "You're in California? I'm in California."
But I followed my big brother
Exactly.
out there as well.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we all ran west.
You ran west.
We did K through 12 here through Eanes, and went to school out there. I went to Santa Cruz, and she went south of me a little bit to USC.
He still hasn't let me live down the 05 Rose Bowl. When I came home talking so much trash, I was like, I thought for certain
Was
USC
that when UT won?
was, yes.
I will never forget that game.
Oh, neither
The
will I,
ending.
Melissa. Thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, it was still to this day like one of the greatest heartbreaks in my life.
Right.
And he and my brothers and my dad and my fiance all think they're hilarious when they bring that up.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your product and your business, and what the Freeloader is.
All right. Well, we another firefighter and myself.
Yes.
We were actually developing a product around a rock climbing carabiner, and he called me from California and mentioned perhaps we should think about a child carrier. And you know what? I think we could do them both at the same time, and all of these very cavalier thoughts of how we could do these things. And he came back, and we started working on a prototype. I liked his idea. We ran with it. I spent 2 weeks in the library researching patents and whatnot, and then we decided to pay somebody who's smarter and better than I am, and he came back and said it's a go. And so, and here it's easier just to show than it is to actually.
No, absolutely.
This is the Freeloader. It's small, it's lightweight, and it's the first child carrier that's actually specific to toddlers.
To toddlers.
And long-term hiking. This represents our 5th prototype. We are 2.5 years into the company.
Can I see it, Nathan?
Absolutely. And
So this goes on the person's back,
Yes.
the adult.
Yes.
And then this seat
the seat drops
is
down.
fold down.
Yeah.
And it is actually lightweight.
It's 5 pounds. It carries 200 pounds.
Which all the other ones only carry up to what, 40?
Yeah,
or something?
40 pounds. And we realized that there was a place in the market where we could actually introduce a product that heretofore didn't exist.
Right.
What we didn't realize is that we were overconfident, ignorant, and stubborn, which in retrospect was hard and made us, I think we both cried a lot over this period for a number of good reasons and not very good reasons. But it allowed us to get through this whole path. And what we did is we had a prototype, and I said, okay, we've got one prototype. It's going to work. It's brilliant. We're going to take the world by storm.
Right.
Let's go do a crowdfunding campaign.
Yes.
So we did a crowdfunding campaign, and we were successful at the time. And we were the biggest product that had been developed on Indiegogo, which has now taken over Kickstarter as the biggest crowdfunding.
I didn't know that. I didn't know your
world.
product was one of the biggest at the time.
It was in that.
In that space.
In that space.
The Indiegogo campaign, Nathan, you were able to raise ultimately something like $32,000.
Yes.
And And I think the video was crucial to your campaign.
Absolutely. It's something like 90% of all campaigns that are successful have a video.
And you produced your video here in Austin. And I think some of our viewers might be interested in taking a look at your video and the Freeloader. So let's give our viewers a chance to take a look at that.
Okay.
I'm Eric Jansen. I'm here with the Freeloader, a new child carrier, and we're here to promote it on Indiegogo.
And my name's Nathan Jones. We spent a year on this child carrier, and we're finally ready to bring it to market. I'm a father of 2 kids.
And I have an 8-year-old.
And these are them. And we are extremely adventure-minded. We both take our kids out all the time on adventures. Part of that was having a current child carrier, and we quickly ran into some substantial problems. Namely, that they were too bulky to be packing around. You have car seats, occasionally we would have strollers even. And they also wouldn't withstand the weight that we needed. When my boy turned 5, he no longer could fit in his. And so I started chewing on this idea with Eric a bit about, can we make something that's every bit as safe, if not safer? Can we also make something that withstands 100 pounds?
What was that experience like, launching the campaign and having to see the campaign through?
It was great. A crowdfunding campaign, it's a very interesting problem to solve. It ends up being you run an entire business from conception through fruition over the course of whatever your predetermined time frame is.
30 to 60 days.
Yeah, 30 to 60 days. And we had great feedback. The papers were good. People got behind us a lot. And it was halfway through that campaign that ABC contacted us and said, "Do you want to be on Shark Tank?" And we thought, yes and no. It seems like a freight train that we don't know if we want to get in front of, and it puts us on a platform that's really big, and can we handle it?
Right. Had the producers on Shark Tank seen the Indiegogo campaign?
Yes, and that was it was because of the Indiegogo campaign that we were leapt off into the ABC world.
Okay.
And then they stopped calling until we were successful in the campaign.
I see.
They totally hung up. But we were successful. They contacted us. They then bumped up our time frame for shooting 6 to 9 months, and we show up in LA 6 weeks after our campaign is done, which was nice because we were still those kids that hadn't really had reality slap them down yet.
Right.
We still thought we were sort of hung the moon. We had just had the successful crowdfunding campaign, and so.
And there's nothing better than when your brother creates a product that, and sends you and says like, "Hey, I have this idea," and you're like, "Okay, send it my way." And he's like, "We're doing this campaign," and all you're thinking is like, "I'm gonna have to endorse this no matter what. Like, I'm gonna have to be involved," and like our whole family is like, "We're gonna have to get behind this." And then when you see it. And it was actually really brilliant. And it was actually like, and I remember the first time you brought the yellow prototype, over to the house, and I was like, oh my God. And you have that moment where your eyes get big, and you're like, this is a really good idea. And he's like, yeah, right? And you're like, no, but even if you weren't my brother, like, this is a really good idea. And I mean, you have 2 Austin Firefighters, right? I mean, you can't this poster boy of, entrepreneurism.
It's like central casting.
It is central casting.
Central
like,
casting.
And I think they even said that when they came and started filming his family, his wife, and now has 3 kids, had 2 kids at the time. But even, I think the producer pulled me aside and he was like, you can't cast a family who looks this perfect. I mean, you just have this, like, I don't know, it was,
Dear.
As a sister, I was very, very proud. And so when Shark Tank came along, I was like, they're so lucky to find people like you, and out of Austin. And it was just such a good cause.
So, Nathan, I'm curious. The Shark Tank, what is the lowdown? Like, A to Z, what happens behind the scenes?
It was absolutely terrifying. First and foremost, it was absolutely terrifying. And you start thinking about, this is something that's going to be recorded, and I have these wonderful kids, and there's a chance that they might have kids, and their kids might watch this. We go on, and they give us a day, and we do this walkthrough, and it's the producers are there, and we know that we're airing the following day. We're going to film it the following day. And we get there, and we do all of our stuff, and everything we've planned and trained on, and practice, because we didn't want to look like fools. And they're like, this is great. You should change 1, 3, 5, and this last thing over here. Be back in 16 hours, and remember, everything you do will always be known for time immemorial. I was like, this is unbelievable.
They'd been rehearsing for weeks at this point. Like, they had their pitch down.
Right.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden being like, yeah, no, this, and this. And he calls, like, shaking on the phone. He's like, I have to memorize 11 new parts before tomorrow. We're going on national television. And your son, River, my nephew, was going to be on the show as well. And he was like, I just hope he doesn't, you can't control kids. And so he's like, I just hope he does what he's supposed to do. And River was perfect. I mean,
He did
was amazing.
so good.
He did so well.
Because of the child labor laws, they had to pay him like $118, and they had a handler on him the whole time.
But he was with you in the studio.
He was with me the whole time, and I said, look, you remember, your only goal is you got to smile. You think you can remember to smile? And he goes, for $1,800, Daddy, I can do anything. I was like, what
You're
is
like,
this
wait,
all
it's
about?
118 first off. It is not 1,800. Not that
Daddy
makes
gets
any
50%.
difference. Yeah, exactly.
But so we, long story short, they start the music, and all that music is real, that dun-dun. So then we walk, and then you stop on this line, and they say pause. And you stand there, and all these sharks are in front of you, and they aren't looking, they're playing on their things, and you're sweating bullets for what seems like 100 hours, and sitting there just going over my lines. And then they say, and I did notice that all the sharks are on these teeny tiny little chairs so that they look like monster kings, which feels like that's what I want too.
Right.
Give me like a Coke that's that big so my hand looks big on TV. I want that. And so we end up, so they say go, and we did our whole first 2 minutes, the spiel. They asked some extremely pertinent questions.
Right.
As it turns out, there's a lot of very good reasons why
They're billionaires.
they're billionaires.
Yeah. They know their
He's like,
stuff.
how did they know that immediately? Like, within like 2 minutes of their
They're
pitch.
so quick.
They rip it apart so
They rip it
quickly, and he's
apart.
like, and that's why he's a billionaire.
He's a
Is
billionaire.
because he's that smart and
Yes.
savvy and immediately knows where the
Right.
weaknesses are.
Right.
Yeah, it was extremely impressive because I spent 3 weeks trying to paint
Sure.
over my weak spots, and in
Right.
7 minutes, Cuban was like, here, and here. Jesus, I want to work for that guy. So anyhow, we go through. They realized quickly that we had just done a crowdfunding campaign. We hadn't put products on shelves yet.
Right.
And so the dominoes, they fall is for one reason or another. And finally, Robert Herchebach at the end, he stood up and he had tried it, and he said, let's take a ride, and expressed an interest, and so we had a handshake agreement at that point.
We were all freaking out.
That he got a deal.
Oh my gosh, of course.
A substantial deal, $200,000.
Absolutely.
From a very respected, successful shark.
And not only the financial, when you look at the platform,
Right.
that now he's in, like you said, it's the most successful show on Friday nights. It's over 7 million viewers. And so now there's 7 million people who didn't previously know that this product existed, now do.
Now
and
do,
and
right.
since then, it's aired 2 more times.
It's aired 3 more times.
3 more times. I mean, that's
we think
crazy
10%
marketing.
of the country's been exposed to the Freeloader, and we're still.
That's an amazing.
And most likely it's
How
the
do you
first
get
of
there?
so many products, because the brand is so strong. When you look at children, to have a euphemism, they are freeloaders. You know what I mean? Like, they're living off their parents. And
Right.
there's something that's really beautiful about this brand, because while this is the first product, I think that there's like an array of products that are going to follow this easily. And then when you have, firemen who are behind it, who are, dads first and foremost, and
Right.
who are also entrepreneurial based. And,
Yes.
I think that there's a really authentic feel to the brand, and you feel good about supporting a brand when you're like, these are just 2 really great guys that like you want to see do well, you know? So
Right. So when the show ended, like, it's 7 minutes. You get the deal.
Yeah.
What happens after the show? Is there an after party? Do people go dancing? Is it like
We go back to our trailer,
you go back to your trailer?
and they say, get your stuff, go home. It's not that bad. Our producer showed up, and everybody was very happy. I mean, we were still trying to get a grasp on what it meant.
Right. And what had just happened?
We had anticipated some of the equity trade. We actually had hit. We figured they would land exactly where it ended up landing.
Oh, really? You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
We thought there would be more negotiation back and forth, but we anticipated it hitting 33% at 200K. And so it did.
Right.
And but then it was a what does this mean?
Right.
And so we come back home and we start learning this whole process of due diligence and back and forth and trying that again and
Did you find, Nathan, after the show aired that your website crashed and like you just got so much more attention?
We became national overnight, which was a big change. Up until that point, we'd been in the Westlake Picayune, we'd been in Austin American Statesman. The crowdfunding campaign did allow us to sell. We sold units in 17 countries on 4 continents, and that felt like a lot. But a lot of those were one-offs. Now we could gauge when it would show. I mean, it showed in Europe, and we had a whole lot of sales there. It showed in Australia, and we started having sales there. And we could gauge where it would be aired based on where people are buying it from. And so, as far as the website was concerned, we did anticipate that. So we called them up and we said, crank up the bandwidth.
Crank up the bandwidth.
And this ain't me being me, but it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Same here.
That's a good thing.
Totally, but that's also the power of media, is that like immediate distribution.
It's a tremendous platform.
Yeah, so for him, I think Shark Tank was a huge game changer because not only did he get him, that's free branding for him, free marketing rather, getting it out there to so many different people, but also, when you have a strong product, I think that it has that, like the stench of inauthenticity smelled from so far away. And I think people saw that this was a really great product made by 2 really great men that were easy to respect and easy to get behind, because as soon as you engage with it, you realize that there was, a dearth in the market for this kind of product, and they found a really specific niche, and that's powerful when you find something, you put yourself in a race in which no one can compete with you.
And here's the coolest fallout from all of it is
Tell us.
Is families with children with disabilities,
Yes.
by and large, saw that we had produced a carrier that could
Help their children.
and
Who are grown and
have some level of disability. More often than not, it is a child that is restricted to a wheelchair for mobility.
Right.
And I had spent 2 years as a care provider in Santa Cruz living with a woman with spinal muscular atrophy. And I was aware that I think we may have created something that, because we used to just go up and down the coast. She wanted to go up and down the coast. She had a little wheelchair, park on the coast, go up here. But you have these sidewalks, and if there's no off-ramp, it's a total disaster. And I can speak to that, and I've experienced that, and I know what it's like. It is a hard world. They all live a much more difficult world than we do.
Yes.
And but by and large, all of these parents started coming out of the woodwork saying, we think you've got something that can allow us for as simple as taking my daughter into the backyard during my son's birthday party, to we just hiked the entire rim of Crater Lake with the entire family for the first time, and probably the first child with this specific disability to ever have hiked Crater Lake, period. And that's the reality that resonated, and a lot of people have now, and it's wonderful. We've got local groups in town we've worked with, we've got people far away, and because now we're dealing with a whole lot of different diseases, and these diseases all have sort of nuances.
Tell me about what you have going on, Alexis, and what you are working on at the moment.
Yeah, something recent happened actually that kind of shifted the trajectory. I've been working within girl empowerment for so long, for so many years now, and recently I went to dinner with the producer at ESPN, and he said, we're doing this camp, and it's called Elite 11, and it's filmed at Nike headquarters, and ESPNU airs the whole thing, and he said, we're teaching these young boys how to compete, how to dominate, and how to conquer. And this is right before all the Ray Rice stuff came out. And it was interesting because being in the trenches with girls for so many years, my simple response to him was, that's amazing, but who's teaching them how to turn it off? And he kind of looked at me with this expression of like, what, and I said, I just think it's really important. You should bring in someone that they really admire, and make sure you integrate into this, as he's, kind of braggadocious about, we have all these different like experts, sports psychologists from all over the world are coming in, and these are the 18 top high school quarterbacks they've signed with every university. And I said, I just think it's really important that you're discussing, potentially the broadening of manhood and all this stuff. And so he calls me the next day, and he says, okay, Jones, you're hired. And I was like, wait, what? No, I'm talking to girls. I'm not talking to guys. And he was like, no, you're perfect. You're the perfect person to come in and have this conversation, because you can be, the cool older sister to these guys. And we do need a conversation about the importance of respecting girls and women. And so you would be perfect. And so I think it was like 4 days later, they flew me out to Nike headquarters, and I ended up giving a talk to these guys. And it was interesting because the first couple rows are, these like alpha, high school quarterbacks. And, they have all this swagger, and they're like sitting there in the seats all like leaned back, and they're all tough guys. Oh, totally. And it was like 7:30 in the morning, so and I think they'd been up, they're doing crazy like 15-17 hour days there, and the way that Trent Dilfer, who won a Super Bowl with the Baltimore Ravens, and he's kind of running this camp, and the way that he introduces me is he doesn't say that I'm a girl, but he goes through my bio, and he's like, this person has hiked Everest, and this person, and is going through all these different things. And he said, we're bringing the foremost expert on manhood. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, I'm the only girl in the room. I'm in the back, so they haven't seen me yet. And I'm just sitting there panicking. So he gets done, with his bio, and he says, please welcome to the stage, Miss Alexis Jones. And I mean, there's whiplash in the room. All the guys are turning around like, what? And so they turn around and they're looking at me, and I'm in like leather pants and high tops, and I come walking in, and, I say, Captain Obvious, I'm not an expert on manhood, but I am an expert in the carnage that's left over from reckless boys. And, like I said, the first couple rows were, the quarterbacks, and then it was past and present NFL players, and then it was executives from ESPN, executives from Nike. And halfway through this talk about the importance of respecting girls and women, and referencing how many of you come from single homes, how many of you have single moms, half the hands in the room go up, and just offering them the opportunity that there's another way to be. And not shaming them, and kind of reframing it to where I'm not, coming in and being like, don't cheat on your girlfriends, right. But instead saying, there's an opportunity of the way in which you carry yourself on the field. And if you claim to be a leader, I dare you to have the audacity to also be a leader in your personal life.
What's neat about these men is that very realistically, we're talking about 10 of the next 22 starting quarterbacks.
Right.
One of these men will win the Super Bowl.
Right.
They will be looked up to. They are they come with enormous sticks, enormous power.
Yeah, and the crazy thing was within 10 minutes, 20 minutes of this talk, and it's supposed to be an hour-long talk, half the guys were like crying, and I'm like, wait, what is happening here? And all of a sudden you realize it, and the best way I can describe it is like there was hope. That there was hope that, these guys had just never had this conversation before. No one had really had the conversation about integrity and humility and kindness and compassion, and given them permission to be scared and to be vulnerable. And that's when it hit me. And it was actually funny because at the end of the talk, they all come up and they're hugging me. And apparently the next day, Trent, is out on the field with all these guys. And
who is Trent again?
Trent Dilfer he was running this entire camp, and he was a big quarterback for 16 years in the NFL. So just all these alpha dudes, you just have these huge burly guys running around, and they're all on the field the next day. And apparently one of the guys keep looking over to the coaches, and they're like, yo, when's Columbus coming back? And all the coaches are like, what are you talking about? And finally Trent walks over, because they keep asking, where's Columbus? And Trent says, who are you talking about? Who is Columbus? And this guy looks at him, he said, that chick who came in and talked to us yesterday, is she coming back to hang out with us? And he's like, why are you calling her Columbus? And he goes, because she showed us a world we didn't know existed. And that's exactly. And Trent called me and was dying laughing, and it was like, if you would have seen these boys, and then that aired August 16th. And weeks later, Ray Rice, all of these horrific stories are coming out, and I think in that moment, for me at least, I saw hope. I saw that there was an opportunity, as Nathan said, to have a conversation with these boys, and to inspire them to a different behavior. That when you look at the fact that they're consuming 10 hours of media a day that's inundated with violence, that they're consuming 3,000 brand images a day that are instilling what manhood is, and then to go in and say, I dare you to think differently. And since that is aired, I guess I've been hired by UT, by USC, by Washington State and Arizona and Duke and all these different programs who want me to come and speak about this program that I've referred to as Protect Her, of just inspiring them that they're protectors at heart. So that's been really exciting. And it's been like a completely different talk, like I'm used to like talking to all girls, and I have guys crying to me. So I'm like, I don't know what this effect is that I have on people, but I hope they're good tears.
Well, we have just a little bit of time left, so I wanted to ask both of you, you're both entrepreneurs in your own right and created things that did not exist before. And I'm curious to know what your advice might be for others out there that want to pursue their dreams, that want to become entrepreneurs. What have been some of the lessons that you've learned along the journey that you've both taken?
For me, the idea that you have a concept in your mind, and in my case, sharing it with another individual, and that can be something you can bring to fruition, and you can actually benefit humanity with it, and that's the goal. That's the belief.
Right.
It takes it takes a certain amount of ignorance and a certain amount of overconfidence and just plain stubbornness.
To think that you can actually do it.
Yeah, and to believe that this should be. And continuing to knock your head into the wall until you make a door is basically my motto, fail to success.
I think for me, it's I heard this quote recently, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's something along the lines of, have the faith to leap and the guts to build your wings on the way down. Like, you're going to find your wings, but I think that it doesn't happen beforehand. I think that there's a huge leap of faith that's transcendent of religion, and it's just that faith and believing in something before it's a reality. And then what does it take in order to get from point A to point B? And yes, ignorance, and I think ignorance mixed with faith. Mixed with the belief that there's possibility here, and then the vulnerability to tell people that you don't know what you're doing, and the vulnerability to ask for help, right? And saying, like, even when I started this manhood thing, even that was a reinvention. And I think that, the difference to me between the goods and the greats are just the belief that, there's always room to grow. And so I think, having the courage to be vulnerable and to ask for help and to not pretend that you have it all figured out. And then when you fail and you fail and you fail and you fail, because that's the other thing, is whenever you see anyone's life, whenever you see interviews, it's like, so tell me about the Freeloader, and everything makes sense in hindsight. It's like, well, this led to that and this led to that. And it can be really intimidating for people who are like, well, I have no idea where to start. And I always say, just start somewhere. If you would ask me 6 months ago if I'd be like working in the guy space and like building out an entire program for, of course not. I'd have no reason to, but all of a sudden you have one conversation and one show and like all of this stuff and doors open. And I think when you're so myopically focused on like, this is the product or this is the company I want to start, and you don't have your eyes open to the possibilities that having even that malleability, of just being like, this is kind of my concept, but I'm fully open to like co-creating this with the universe. And so whoever is like brought into my life and like believing that there's serendipity and that like the exact right person at the exact right time is going to come into my life to help co-create this. To me, I think there's a lot of power in that.
Absolutely. Very exciting. Part of the philosophy of our TV show is we very much want to give back to the Austin community and keep the vibe of Austin's friendliness and supportiveness a part of our show. And so to that end, we have asked our guests that will come on and speak with us if they are willing to share their knowledge and their expertise with one of our viewers. And you both have graciously agreed to each have coffee with one of our viewers who may have a question about starting a business, filing a patent, launching a nonprofit,
being a dad,
whatever, being a fireman, being on The Price is Right,
whatever all the secrets to getting onto reality TV.
Secrets of reality TV. Exactly. So for those viewers that are interested in doing that, please go to our website, which is www.austinbusinessmatters.org, and there will be information on there about how you can connect with Nathan and Alexis. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
It was a pleasure.